So you created a course and it doesn't sell. Why did it happen? There are multiple reasons for that. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 main reasons why your course doesn't sell, 5 areas where you can look at today to determine what needs to be changed, what you can do differently to make your course more appealing. And if you're new here, my name is Elena Motonono. I help online language teachers work more sustainably by moving away from one-to-one classes to teaching through voice chats and Google Docs. If you are interested more about that, there is a sign up button in the description. You can sign up to get my free Smart Teachers Kit and get started. All right, so 5 reasons why your course doesn't sell. Reason number 1 is the topic was not chosen well. Well, maybe you asked around a couple of students. Maybe you look at another successful online language teacher and you saw that they're doing something and you could make something similar. Perhaps you just decided to create something that you got tired of repeating over and over again to your students. And so you really didn't have any vision for how to determine the topic of your course. And so as a result, it kind of ended up being quite bland and maybe generic. And so that's one of the reasons why the course may not sell. In the past, that was my issue. I created a course on grammar, I think, ESL, because I'd asked so many students what they would like to learn. And of course, everybody talks about grammar. So sure enough, I go in and I create a comprehensive course on all the tenses. And my thought was that my students would let other students know, other friends know on social media. And of course, I just kind of put the responsibility of promoting my course onto my students, which they didn't do because that wasn't something that they were interested in. And so the result, my course wasn't selling. If you listen until the end, I will tell you some of the ways in which you can actually improve your current course, what you can do to make sure that it sells better. Reason number 2 is you don't have an audience. Now, I used to think that as long as I have my students, I will be able to start selling my course, and then my students will tell their friends and they will tell their friends, and all of a sudden, boom, I have a huge community. But what I didn't realize is the reason, for the most part, when I taught one-on-one, that students came to me and they got to learn about me from their friends was because of a very specific thing that they wanted to learn, and that I was a teacher that was available and I was doing my job well. There was never like a value proposition to my lesson. It was just lessons. And people didn't seem to need anything other than that. And I, to this day, I think it's very critical to recognize the difference between just the students that come to us by word of mouth because they just don't want to do the work of research, and it's kind of pretty scary to do that, and they just find us through some of their friends who are currently our students, and the students that we find when we go and look for them actively, whether in social media, YouTube, podcast, etc. So when you have an audience that is outside of your one-to-one students, which, don't get me wrong, one-to-one students, word of mouth is great. However, you can get to a point where you depend on it too much and you do not do the work to grow your audience beyond it, and then you create a course and nobody buys it, or just a few people buy it, or fewer than you expected, and the people that actually buy and not the people from a large audience out there, just your students because they know you. So this is why it's important to build your audience beyond your one-to-one students. Reason number 3, you don't have a niche. Now, there is a lot of talk about what really a niche is, and I have on this channel some training on how to find your niche that you might find helpful. There are 5 key elements that I talk about when it comes to finding a niche. And most of the teachers only focus on one, which is their expertise. Your expertise is super important. The second thing that people kind of pull into the niche is what would people buy, which I understand is quite important for people that are just going out there because they want to make sure and be certain that their product is going to be purchased by the audience. So if, for example, tests preparation is the thing right now, of course they're going to offer it now, whether or not they really like it, care about it, whether or not it resonates with their values and the purpose and the meaning that they put into teaching a language, that is all secondary. And so when you just do these 2 things of like what will sell plus what am I capable of teaching, right? What my experience is, you come up with very narrow niches. And I don't mean narrow in terms of the number of people they can reach, but narrow in terms of not deep enough to go and connect with people on a level that brings up in them this desire to work with you and to buy from you and to develop that loyalty. So if your niche is just like ESL for Russian speakers, that's what I used to do, or maybe, Italian for people living in Australia or whatever. If it's just that level, I mean, that's a good place to start. But if you stop there, then you will find it more and more difficult to attract people without lowering your prices, because after all, there are lots of Russian speakers that are wanting, for instance, to learn English. And it's really important to go beyond that surface level so that you can connect with the audience that understands your values, understands what's important to you, and is able to resonate with that. Now, I know, and in the past I used to think, well, but what about all those huge, big channels on YouTube and huge, big Instagram account that just seem to be doing bland stuff and they seem to be doing just fine? Now, I don't know, the key word here is seem, and I feel like when we focus too much attention on what other people are doing, we forget what's happening in our business, we don't evaluate, and we don't innovate. So even though there are people like that, they have their own story that we are not familiar with, and the story that we are most familiar with is our own. So I would encourage you, if you can, go watch my training on, it's called Dare to Be Different, but on this YouTube channel, I posted it as How to Find a Niche. It's very easy. You can complete it and get a more specific picture and more appealing picture of what a niche might be for your audience. Okay, so reason number 4, you haven't actually done the so-called proof of concept. In other words, you have never sold anything other than one-to-one classes. And when that is the case, it's very difficult to know, like, will people actually buy anything except your time? It's very easy to sell your time anywhere because all you do is just say, this is my expertise, this is how much my 1 hour costs, let's work together. It's very clear for people what the value proposition is, and they're going to sign up. Now, with a course, you're not selling your time. And the value proposition has to be super compelling so that people will say, well, even if I am not going to get the time from, or as much time as I would like to with this person, I will be able to get some value from this course. So in order to understand that, you need to create like a tiny prototype of your course, maybe a small product, or it's called minimum viable product, that you put out there and you test it to see, are people even interested in something like that? Is anybody even going to buy it? And all you really need to get the proof of concept is get one person who is not your current customer sign up for your course or purchase that tiny little product that you have, the prototype, and being willing to sort of give you feedback, go through it and give you feedback. This is how you get more information on what your product actually does, what and how it can help people, and how you can help more people by improving this product. So sometimes I think in the beginning, I was so sure of the fact that as long as I put all of my knowledge and package it well, I am going to be able to sell so well because, I was teaching at college and I know how to teach and I know how to teach grammar. And that's true, except when you go online, there's tons of other people who are doing marketing way better than you. And that's the truth. And we think that just by coming in as experts in our field, we'll be able to compel and people just like drop everything and sign up for our course, which of course is not the case. Reason number 5, your messaging is still not clear. Now, messaging is something that you communicate over and over again to teach people why working with you or how working with you is different, right? That's what Seth Godin, who is a big teacher influencer in the area of marketing, he talks about a lot, is that marketing is changing somebody else's mind, but not in a manipulative way of changing somebody else's mind, but rather you are challenging certain beliefs that people have had. For instance, maybe they have always thought that they could learn a language in 3 weeks, right? As long as they have a super magic course, it will be possible. Now, you know that this is not true, and you want to go out there and educate people to say that, well, this is actually not true, and invite them to join you for like a longer course, right? Or to join your membership that will last, months for a year and so forth. So in order to do that, you have to polish your messaging to consistently be talking about the subject that matters to you, and also bust the myths that exist in your area, your specific industry. And so when we talk about language learning, what are the myths that you would like to bust in order to introduce your product as something that is going to help people? And those are important questions. Now, I know all these 5 things that I talked about, sometimes people listen to that and say, well, if it's so difficult, why should I even get started? And exactly. That's why many people don't get started, because it's not always straightforward. It takes a lot of iteration. It takes a lot of sort of messy middle and failure. And in the end, there is no guarantee. If you sell your one-to-one class, it's much easier, more straightforward, because people know that by the end of the hour, they will learn something, hopefully, from you, because you have all the expertise. But not so with online course. There is a lot more work going in, a lot more introspective work, a lot more evaluation, a lot more reflection, a lot more understanding of how you're different, your values, and what you bring into the world. So going back to the idea that I started out with, how do you actually sell the course? What can you do to tweak it? Let's say you put this amazing, huge, humongous course out there. You put it out there and nobody bought it. So what next? What do you do? Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you that you've made this huge step of, first of all, making it and completing it and putting it out there and being so brave. Not many teachers are able to do that. We all have those ideas that one day we will be able to, start a community or a membership or build a successful online course selling business, whatever it is. But actually getting there is quite vulnerable because you put yourself into a situation where you will fail. You will most likely fail. And when people experience that, they just want to drop everything, or they want to say to themselves, well, it didn't work because I didn't have the magic understanding of what topic I should use, or, I need to go and find a course that will give me 100, 200% guarantee, and it's not there. While the courses might give you all the tools you need and all the clarity you need, the work of figuring things out, I know it's so frustrating, but this is the work that we do on our own. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility. So what do you do if the course didn't sell? You had this huge course. Well, what I usually recommend to the clients I work with and inside the community where we are learning using specific resources and coaching, what I recommend is taking this big, humongous monstrosity and reducing it to a tiny 5-lesson course. Can you do that? Can you squeeze everything out to build a 5-lesson course and not even pull those videos out, but actually try to make, 5 most important points out of this? If you can't leave it to make it 5, make it 10. But like 5 is the best thing. Start with 5, and then if you need to add, you can add, have some room. If you start with 10, you will most likely grow it even more. So start with 5 most important points of this course. What would you say to the person that wanted to work on something like this? If it's grammar, if you took grammar, maybe it's not really as good of a subject, but if you are able to condense everything into a very short product and put it together, it's going to make a huge difference. In fact, I am putting together a 5-day challenge on how to create your audio